gender-based violence.
All right, there you have it. I thought of just breaking the silence, and we know that the period you are in is very important. As Auditor General officers, we would like to send our messages to those victims of and never should you be stay in silence. And obviously sitting in for Julius Musumali, my sign language interpreter for today is Jason Manda. Later on, I'll be able to interact with you on the number that I'll share with you later on this same platform. So for starters, to Chelekwa, and
the best way to look at, for instance, if you are going to we're giving assurance to the Auditor General. My job is just to make sure that the unit is coordinated in such a manner that we're doing the right things. It's basically to carry the vision, but ensuring that the Auditor General gets the best output in terms of the audit processes that are being done.
Okay. Annette, you are acting principal auditor quality assurance. We've heard what Chileko has highlighted. Now, can you just walk us through the key stages of the audit process at the Office of the Auditor General, and how does quality assurance fit in these stages?
Okay, before I even delve into the actual audit processes, I would like to give a background of how the audits are selected. So it starts with risk profiling, and the profiling is done through the use of a risk matrix. Clients are then rated into low, medium, and high risk clients. For other audit types, it could be profiling of subject matters or audit topics. So when those are done, the work plans are then formulated, and the priority is given to the high risk clients or audit topics. Due to sometimes we do have financial constraints, so priority is first given to the high risk clients. That doesn't mean the other clients are not looked at, but we start prioritizing from the high, the medium, then the low. So in terms of the actual audit stages, we have the planning stage, the execution of performing the audit stage, and then we have the reporting stage. In terms of the planning, this involves the evaluation of circumstances that help or give the ability to perform the audit engagement. And the objective of this stage is to ensure that the independence and competence of the team is okay, to ensure that the time allocations have been given in terms of the assignment. And this stage also involves understanding the auditee's environment and the internal controls. This is the stage where risks are also identified, and this is where these risks are the ones that enable the planning and performing of the audit engagement effectively. This is also where audit areas are established, and the audit procedures to respond to the risks identified are also formulated at this stage of the audit. In terms of the quality assurance function for this stage of the audit, the quality assurance function comes in to ensure that the team's independence, ethical requirements have been evaluated and are found to be okay. We also ensure that an appropriate time allocation has been done. The assignment is also documented. This will help to assist in the subsequent audits and planning for the subsequent audits. We also ensure that the risks that were identified are correctly classified as well, where applicable. There are audit types where you need to actually classify the.
I know, for the sake of our listener and our viewer out there, what could be some of the risks that you classified? Would you be in a position just to highlight some of the risks?
Okay, for example, when we're looking at the financial audits, at this stage of the audit, we classify them into those that are affecting account balances and those that are affecting the financial statement as a whole.
Okay.
Classify them because in terms of evaluating them, we have separate audit procedures for the financial statement of pervasive risk and different audit procedures for those that affect account balances or disclosures.
All right. You may proceed now and just run us through the stages that you're highlighting.
Okay. In terms of the second stage, which is the execution or performing the audit stage, this is the stage where we now evaluate the audit procedures.
Okay.
Yes. So at this stage, the evaluation can include analyzing financial statements. It could be testing of internal controls. It could be verifying existence of assets. It could be assessing compliance to laws and regulations. And at this stage as well, this is where, after performing the audit procedures, we also document the conclusions. Go into performing audit procedures to establish whether those risks actually materialize or not. So this is the stage where we do that. And once the auditors do that, they looked at. We also ensure that appropriate audit evidence is available to support the conclusions that the auditors are making.
Okay.
Yes. In terms of the reporting and following up stage, this is the stage where you find the audit reports, the management letters, the audit reports are produced. And at this stage, that is where the auditor has documented the opinion, the assurance function to also ensure that there is enough evidence.
Okay.
Yes. We also have, as quality assurance now, for us audit process, we also have a component of quality reviews.
Okay.
Yes, this review or HOD. HOD in the essence that the reviews are conducted after the audit engagement has been concluded. The HOD reviews are conducted during the audit process. This means that as the audit is being conducted, the quality assurance team can go in to evaluate the work that has been done so far and provide guidance.
Okay.
Yes, this
So that guidance is provided to the entity or to management at the auditor's office?
to the audit team.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. But before you proceed, let me bring in comment on what your colleague has highlighted. But before you do that, what specific standards your office followed to maintain quality of audits?
Okay, thank you for that. So with regards to the standards that we follow as an office, we have what are known as international standards for supreme audit institutions. So a supreme audit institution is basically the highest audit institution within a particular country. So within the context of Zambia, that will be the Office of the Auditor General. That's the main audit institution within the country. So for all supreme audit institutions globally, there are standards that have been prescribed for us in terms of how we do our work. These are what are known as ISIs, International Standards for Supreme Audit Institutions. Those are the standards that we use. Those are the standards that we rely on.
Okay.
So as quality assurance, there's a specific standard which is provided for us in terms of how we are supposed to do our work. Because when it comes to the ISIs, they are broken down into different levels. There are certain ISIs which cut across the entire institution. And there are some standards which are specific to certain types of audits. So I'm sure over the previous programs you have been able to realize that as an office we don't only do one type of audit, because most people tend to believe that we only focus on financial audits, but we do other types of audits like performance audits as well as compliance audits. So each of these types of audits, they have a set of standards, and then there are umbrella standards that cut across. And that's where ISI 140 comes in and quality assurance comes in. Quality assurance, we're not just focused on financial audits. We also look at performance audit, we look at compliance audit. Our interest is to ensure that the output that we give is of a certain quality. So that is where
the global standards, based on the region, based on the continent, because regions, they differ. The situation that may occur in a developed country may be different from a developing country. So how are those standards set?
Okay, so within the context of standards, even in the private sector, you find that you have the ISS, as well as, for instance, from the accounting side, you have the IFRS. Those are set at global level.
Okay.
In the same manner, for our standards as the ISIs, they are set at global level. So there's an organization, the INTOSI, International Organization for Supreme Audit Institutions. So they set these standards at global level. But within the region, we have what we know, what is known as AFROSIE, which is the African Organization for Supreme Audit Institutions, English speaking.
Okay.
So they offer support, but they don't deviate from the global standards. They just offer support which will help us implement those standards from a regional perspective.
Okay.
So you find like manuals, yes, the manuals that will sit maybe in Europe, the manuals that are going to sit in South America compared to what will sit in Africa will be different.
Okay.
Even within Africa, there are English-speaking countries, and then you have non-English-speaking countries. So the approach in terms of the way the manuals will sit might be slightly different.
And how often are those standards reviewed, looking at the changing times where we are?
Every time things change, there's always a new standard.
Okay.
As we speak, in terms of what we do as quality assurance, come January 2025, there's a new standard which has been, not a new standard. The ISI 140 that I was making reference to has actually been revised. So there are certain changes which we need to adopt as we go into January 2025.
Okay.
Yeah, but just to add on to what you have asked, because it goes beyond just the standards, but we also look at the guidelines, what guides what we do as an office in terms of quality. So apart from the ISI 140 that I've made reference to, we have the manuals that guide how we do every type of audit, whether it's financial, performance, compliance.
Okay.
And then apart from that, like Annette had highlighted in the audit process leading up to issuing the opinion, because the opinion, what the opinion is basically saying, if for instance Ministry of Finance has issued their financial statements and these are being consumed by the public, because you're going to make decision based on what they're saying, how they've managed the public resources.
Okay.
So we come in to give you assurance that what has been presented in these financial statements is actually correct. So what happens within quality assurance is that we also do what are known as pre-issuance reviews, just so that we are sure that whatever has been followed through in terms of the audit methodology that has been used is actually compliant to the standards that we have set for ourselves.
Okay, all right. I've just been given an indication that we need really to start winding down because we have some live programs that will be coming a little later on this same platform, and the facility that you're using may be utilized a little later. But before we conclude, maybe I'll get to Annette. How does the Office of the Auditor General ensure its staff have the capacity to uphold standards in the audit process?
Okay, so it starts from the respective directorates actually. During the audit process, there is what was alluded to by Mr. Monje as the quality control function. So the quality control function involves supervisors giving reviews on the work that has been done. So they document coaching notes. Those reviews, the coaching notes, help the auditors gain capacity. Us as the quality assurance unit also come and do our reviews and give findings. Those findings also help to give capacity to the auditors. But we also have in-house training as an office. The quality assurance unit, in conjunction with the standards committee, we do have a standards committee at the office. We do organize in-house trainings for auditors where we help bridge the gap in terms of knowledge and adherence to methodologies. Then we also have our cooperating partners, other institutions like the affiliated institutions that Mr. Monje mentioned, AfroSci and Intosci, who also come and help us providing support in technical areas. So we do have support from international organizations as well, where they conduct trainings to help us have the technical abilities to perform them.
Chileko, how does your office address issues of non-compliance or errors found during the audit, and what corrective measures do you put in place to make sure that you correct those anomalies?
Okay, so maybe the first thing we need to appreciate is what is it that we sell as Office of the Auditor General? What is our product? So our product as Office of the Auditor General is basically trust. That's what we sell to the public, trust. Because immediately we lose that trust, then there's a problem. No one will pay attention to whatever it is that we're doing, right? So in selling that particular trust, we must make sure that it's not compromised in any way. So when you look at any errors that might exist in terms of this product that we're working towards bringing out to the public, one of the key issues that we do is what is done by a committee which is known as the editing committee. Maybe it's very critical to emphasize what this committee actually does. It's a committee of directors supported by the quality assurance function. So with this particular committee, there are certain key issues that we're going to look at. When an observation is raised, you need to ask yourself the question, is this particular issue material? Is this issue pervasive across maybe all ministries? Let's take, for instance, you have an issue that has been raised, and this the report that you're producing is cutting across all government entities, and then this is only existing in one particular entity, and it's not a very material figure. Is it critical that we actually bring it out in the consolidated report? You find that there are certain powers as general to deal with particular issues without escalating them to Parliament. So in that particular case, we have certain observations which at the point of raise, those particular observations will maybe let be dealt with administratively. And then we have certain observations where this observation has been raised, but is it pertaining to the financial year that we are looking at? Because we also need to scope our audits.
No, sorry, Chileko, to cut you short. Don't you think those certain things that you've just highlighted that you think and feel can be dealt with by you as the office without escalating it to Parliament? Don't you think those can be a recipe for corruption to some degree?
And that is the reason why, as an office, it's not one person to make the decision.
Okay.
Like I said, when it comes to the auditing committee, it's a committee of directors, right? Supported by quality assurance, and is chaired by the Auditor General. When a particular issue comes, we as a committee must deliberate to make a decision on whether or not this is something that we as Office of the Auditor General is within our powers. We're not powerless. You know what I mean? So where our powers end, we feel this, let it be looked at by maybe a higher deliberation. So at that particular point, you escalate it to Parliament to say maybe this particular issue, let it be deliberated at a much higher scale. And then also, when we look at what the editing committee does, is look at what constitutes a query. Because whenever you're looking at an audit observation, it's not, there are certain observations which are just opinion. You see, when it comes to an audit observation, it must satisfy the 5 C's.
Okay.
So the 5 C's, it starts with the criteria, right? What is there something that guides in terms of how this thing is supposed to be done? And what did you find? That becomes the condition. And then you look at what has caused it, right? You look at the consequence and what corrective action are you supposed to take.
Okay.
So where a particular audit observation may not meet some of the elements with regards to the C's as set out for a criteria, then it becomes very difficult.
Okay.
For instance, if I bring an issue to you, right? I'm an auditor, I bring it to you as the editing committee, but it's not guided by any particular standard, but you're saying someone did something wrong. How did they do something wrong? There must be something that said you should have done this. And then when we went on the ground, we realized that you did not do it. So it means you have deviated from what has been prescribed. It becomes an audit observation.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are some of the elements that the editing committee tries to look at in terms of that particular query that has been raised.
Yeah, before you proceed and before I bring in Annette, maybe looking at your office being a very, or you should I say your department or unit being very critical, maybe just share with us some of the examples that your office has helped in identifying significant issues during an audit, and maybe these issues might have been overlooked.
For instance, if a particular issue is raised, maybe a wrong opinion, is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, so we've had instances where an opinion is brought because the opinion is going to say, okay, we've looked at these financial statements, and when I say opinion, allow me to just clarify that we're talking about financial audits. So when it comes to financial audits, financial statements are presented. Someone is saying this is how we've spent the money, and this is how our assets and liabilities are sitting. And then we have to issue an opinion on whether it's been presented fairly. So what happens is we've had situations where an audit opinion has been proposed,
Okay.
and this particular audit opinion is not supported by any real evidence. This particular audit opinion which has been proposed is not supported by what is prescribed in the standard. So when it comes to the standards on when you're issuing an audit opinion, there are 2 main types of opinions that you issue. So there's what is known as unmodified opinion, which means everything is okay. And then you have a modified opinion. Now there are 3 types of modified opinion. You have an adverse opinion, you have a disclaimer, and then you have a qualification. So when you're looking at a qualification, you're just basically saying everything is okay except for this particular issue. When you're looking at an adverse opinion, you're saying everything is pretty much, we have evidence to conclude statements have not been presented fairly. You have no evidence to actually make a particular conclusion. So we have had particular situations where an opinion has been proposed, and then when quality assurance goes in to actually look at, do what we call a pre-issuance, just to confirm whether what Annette was talking about in terms of the audit process has been followed, been ticked off correctly, and then also there's evidence to support what you are saying.
Okay.
And then we find that this is not the case.
Okay.
In which case we raise our issues and then we propose.
As we wind up, collaboration is very critical when it comes to audit issues. How are you collaborating with international bodies?
Okay, so we already talked about the institutions that we're affiliated to, the INTOSAI and the AFROSAI. So there's help in terms of trainings. They also provide certification courses actually for the office, for the different types of audit methodologies, inclusive of us as a quality assurance unit. They are also training specific to us. Then we also have benchmarking exercises. The office has given us the leeway to benchmark with other sites where we can learn what other sites are doing and incorporate them into our system.
Okay.
Then we have peer reviews as well as a QA function. Because we are affiliated to these institutions, they do ask from staff from our units to go and conduct reviews in other sites. So that's also a plus for us.
Okay, I should make mention that we'll definitely call on you to have a part 2 of this program, preferably, and at what other issues that we really need to discuss as Parliament and your office. So maybe bear with us for today. We'll definitely extend an invitation for next week that we can have a part 2 of looking at this very important topic, which is quality assurance in the audit process in the Office of the Auditor General. We do have, I had my guest on the program, Mr. Chidekwa Monje, Head Quality Assurance and Standard Units, and Mrs. Aneta H. Nkombwa, Acting Principal Audit Quality Assurance Unit from the same office. To our viewers and our listeners, we will definitely have a part 2 of this program. This is due to unforeseen circumstances with this program, but bear with us. Next week we'll look at the same topic. My name is Paul Ndovi, and thank you so much for your time.